People who have been to prison, what unexpected habits have stuck with you since being released? Serious. I've never been to jail, but my SO has spent time in both jail and prison. The only habit of his that I've noticed that really bothers me is how he refuses to sleep naked. Even when we have sex he keeps his shirt on. It's taken years to make him feel loved in a safe environment where he can let his guard down in his sleep. He's not as serious about it as he used to be, but he still rarely sleeps in the nude. Every time I wake up next to him without his clothes on, I smile and pull him closer knowing that he feels safe. My brother was released earlier this year. I'm not sure he's noticed, but he barely looks at anyone in the eyes anymore. His conversations are very short. He's not into gaming as he used to be, and he's even more into working out and reading. Eating 3 times a day, and healthier. I ate more food in prison than I did before I went in, and I still lost weight. Also, you're rarely hungry since you eat so regularly, which means no overeating and feeling like it. I used to be cranky all the time and would only eat 1 giant meal a day. Now I feel good all the time and I'm in the best shape of my life equals. Drinking black coffee. When I went in, I didn't have any family or friends to load my books. The money you can use to purchase from the prison store is how I tell people I've never been. I had gone a month or 2 before making any friends. The only thing I craved was coffee and cigs. A few months in, one of the friends I had made got a friend to load $20 on my books. I had enough to buy a bag of instant coffee. You have to buy the individual sugar packets. So I didn't waste any of my precious $20 on that bushly. Drank so much of it. Sweet coffee tastes so bad now. Also, I still have this insanely bad habit of taking off my socks and shoes real ducking quick if someone angers me. I still poop with one leg out of my pants. Does having nightmares of still being there 5 years after being released count? Cause if so, then that's my habit. I worked as a counselor in a state prison, kindly referred to as a hugger thug by the COs, and I left that job with an intense aversion to people walking behind me. Under any circumstances, I won't even let my wife walk behind me, and I trust her, mostly. Never wanting to be barefoot, even in the shower. I also use my hands to push off the water on my body after a shower. I used a ratty little towel forever and would do this so the towel could actually dry me off. I will probably never be comfortable speaking to any officer of the law again. And I don't mean that I am monosyllabic or unresponsive. I'm the opposite. I start nervous chatter the entire time while needlessly obsessing over whether I'm in trouble when I have to talk to a cop, which I try to avoid, and I tend to watch them from the corner of my eye to make sure they're not watching me. Sorry, Leos. It's not you. It's me. Don't tase me, bro. Be a man of my word. In lockup, your word is all you've got. If you aren't a stand-up guy inside, you are nothing. Keep my living areas clean and organized. Inside it's easier because there's less to worry about. But that's one thing that I learned to appreciate. The peace of a clean house. Scheduling my own time. Or keeping busy. I have a work schedule, sure. But my time off needs to be structured as well. It's rare that I feel good about just daydreaming or not being productive in some way. Sure, there's time for video games, Facebook, etc. But not until I've gotten all my other needs settled. In prison, dead time is torturous. Thinking about outside, freedom, etc. I had to keep my mind occupied or I'd have gotten pretty depressed. This might get buried. Does anyone have any tips on helping someone adjust to the outside world again once they get out of prison? I still have a very hard time making genuine connections with people. I got so used to keeping people at arm's length. According to my wife, I give great personality but horrible friendship. And she's exactly right. I don't really let anyone in. Not really. Not even my wife. I used to love people. I was so trusting and engaging. I always sort of automatically assumed that everyone was my friend. Now, it's the complete opposite. I always look for the flaw. I always look for the hidden agenda. Guarding my food plate. Occasionally I get asked why I hunch over my plate with my arms around it, trying to stop, assess, size up potential threats from people or groups wherever I am, and stay aware of their position. Dumb myself down and speak like a dropout so as not to draw attention to myself. If you look more attractive and sound smarter than someone with a power trip insecurities, you're gonna draw their attention in a bad way. This one will sound really dumb to a lot of people, but it's one minor changes in my habits that stuck real deep. In prison your pants don't have pocket. When I was younger and didn't know what to do with my hands, my normal reflex, like most I guess, would be to simply put them in my pocket and leave them there until I needed them. In prison, this is not a possibility. Your hands are just there hanging awkwardly by your side. My best friend is the first one who made me realize that even after getting released I've never put my hands back in my pocket. I've learned to live without putting them in my pocket and it's simply stuck. Wow. I thought that was a dumb comment and yet it's the highest rated comment I've ever got on Reddit. Thank you all for sharing your experience and views with me. The one thing I notice on a day-to-day basis is how uncomfortable I am standing behind people. As a trustee I worked around the guards a lot and you had to be at least 10 feet back to stand behind them. So when I stand directly behind people I feel I make them worried or uncomfortable. Also, as non-threatening as I believe I appear, I feel myself having to try to not appear as a criminal in social settings. Whether I'm at a store or a person's house I automatically feel like I'm looked at as a criminal who is up to no good even though nobody knows I've ever been a criminal in any way. Also routines. You get into a daily routine in prison so I carefully plan out my days. If anything happens outside of the routine I get extreme anxiety, making it difficult to spontaneously have fun with people. I was in solitary for 2 years. I spend most of my time in my office bedroom, which is not too much larger than my cell was. It has been over 14 years since I was released. You'd think I'd be over it by now. I hate being around people. I'd rather text and I don't trust people. I count on no one but myself. Also, I hate the smell of men's speed stick. The crack whores that came in would use it instead of bathing. I can't smell it without gagging. Not me, my stepdad. He did 15 years under the Rockefeller law. He still showers with his boxers on. It makes me sad. He's been home for over a decade. He's also very OCD, which I think prison just amplified his actions. He will rearrange everything, literally, every day, especially when he has nothing to do. He will continue to fix the same thing and harp on the same thing for weeks. And he's very macho. He always shares stories with us, 3 women, how no one ducks with him, how we know he'll duck someone up for whatever reason. Forget it when a boyfriend comes over. It's alpha male time. When I go at a urinal I always put one hand on the wall in front of me. When I work out I do it alone. Fast and always with an eye on everything around me, same with eating. My girlfriend says I have a spidey sense that happens before people get in fights in public. I'm never in the fight, but apparently before a fight between strangers even happens I already have a defensive stance like I'm ready to get attacked. My brother went to prison and now he's really meticulous about keeping his room clean. Mom said he picked it up then as a method of control. Eating fast. I've tried my best to eat at a slow pace, but before I know, it's 3 months later and I've been eating like that again for the past 2 months and 3 weeks. Also, I question every act of kindness as an ulterior motive. It sucks, but whatever. The fear. People always tell me that it's super obvious that the way I walk shows that I'm afraid of being watched or something of that sort. Now that I'm not cornered all the time, I feel a freedom, but it still sticks with me. I sure hope this wears off soon and I can just go back to living a normal life. I done 9 months in 2013. I found the hardest habit to kick was aimlessly pacing. I still do it today. Not having control of the lighting in the room has me putting a cloth over my eyes. Even in a dark room, I can't sleep without one. Having a bottle of water next to me when I go to sleep. Always wearing slippers indoors. Guarding food or eating rather quickly became a common trait of my father's after he left prison. Kinda funny watching him guard his food from his kids. I still make some whack ducking burritos that taste like it. I keep those little salt and pepper packets from fast food chains with me. Before eating the bizarrely bland food there, I'd never really used them before. But after tasting that food I was pissed they only gave me 2 salt packets for the whole meal. I would have been happy with 6 maybe. I say everything with my chest now. Let's just say I made a new account name when I got out. Working out by myself. Used to pay for gyms. Drinking milk. It was served with every meal. And I still do that. And I read more and watch less TV. I was only allowed outside twice in a month's stay. I walk outside just to feel the sun often since then. 1. I absolutely trust no one. That is why I paid my lawyer another $5k to handle my probation stuff, because I worry that my PO might duck with me. It is unheard of to have a lawyer represent you through probation. But I do not even trust my lawyer 100%. 2. I always look for ways to hide stuff. 3. I keep to myself. 4. I lie with much greater ease because honesty isn't always the best policy. In fact, it's a liability. 5. I have a plan B in place. There being a plan to take myself out before going back to the joint. 6. I am always figuring out if someone is lying to me by counting the number of times they contradicted their values as well as the values they impose on you. Things seem to go from 0-60 really quickly. At least in my mind. In prison, if you are about to fight, there are very few words. You just do it. When someone is talking, telling me a story, in my head, I'm like yay, yay, yay. Get to the point. I still wake up crazy early. It is really easy to daydream and pretend I'm flying or in outer space, exploring the bottom of the ocean, etc. After 9 months in the hole, I learned to super duper concentrate as a means of therapy and to keep my mind off of the present. It's been 10 years now, and for a while, 2-3 years, it was hard to have a conversation that wasn't filled with swearing. I lost a lot of vocabulary by speaking in prison terms and not societal terms. That bothered me the most, I think. The fact that I dumbed myself down to relate and fit in with my surroundings. Then upon release couldn't have a common conversation with a stranger without straining to not curse. A friend of mine hesitates before walking through a door because he is in the habit of having doors opened for him. I use a folded up sheet or blanket as a pillow now. Regular pillows just feel too big and soft. Read my first book cover to cover while in jail. Fell in love with reading and now read a book a week. Making awesome recipes with what you have. Prison taught me I can make burritos with just ramen, pickles and chips. I have a love of Maury and Jerry Springer shows. Any kindness towards me I treat with uncertainty. A lot of people don't do something good for you unless they see something in it for themselves or want something in return. Fear of courthouses. I dread being inside them because I get flashbacks of that awful feeling of your life is in the hands of someone you don't even know and you have no idea what he's about to do to you. Judge. If I have anything in my hands even slightly illegal, I find a very safe stash spot in case of emergency. I'm only 22. I've spent about 2 years locked up. Now I really like to stay home and watch Netflix or play games. I feel like I don't connect with people anymore.